but would the news anchor fabricate a story or lie to me, or be objective about a breaking news story about a crime that was committed? So, for instance, with breaking news, you know, a news story that just happens, would all the facts be there? Would the full story be there? You know, whenever you hear a story, do you think, oh my goodness, this happened, you know, this bank got robbed today and this is the suspect. And then later on you find out, well, that wasn't really what happened, or, you know, it didn't happen like that. So I just want to talk to you. The purpose of this meeting is to discuss how news programs are perceived, in the fact that I want to argue that news stories are not pure reality, nor are they objective from a news anchor's or journalist's side. Therefore, that like news stories aren't unbiased. So, and there's 3 reasons why I don't think that news stories are biased from the journalist's perspective, and that is because of the 3 main limitations they run into. And one of them is being deadlines, the resources, and then news perspectives. So of course, my chosen topic is the news and its reflection on like actual events that occur and whether or not they are fabricated. So the obvious limitation that journalists run into are deadlines, and with that, so newspapers, magazines, and radio shows run into deadlines because they want to have their story out first. And so with newspapers, they have a deadline of probably 11 o'clock that night. So in order to get that story out on the next day's news, they want it on the front page to sell their newspaper, so they rush to get the story out. So in order to meet their deadline, they may not be able to gather all the facts or have the full story, but they also want to grab the audience. So that's another way they say limitations are from the news perspective. So with the news and the media, they are about grabbing audience's attention and keeping that audience focused, and what they do is they condition audiences to have repeat viewings. So what they do is, instead of really trying to sell the story or give you straight facts and tell you about the story, what they're trying to do is sell advertisements or get you like focused in to have you repeat, to keep on coming back to their news channel or news station. And therefore they sell advertisement slots or spaces to products, you know, or advertisers. They're trying to sell their products, and that's how they make money, is off of products and not their news stories. So but also they run into limitations on resources because they don't have enough time to gather all the resources that they need. There are never enough resources to cover each event that occurs daily. So even the events are getting filtered on what's getting reported, causing them to be selective with the information they gather. So the journalists or anchors are being selective on the information that they're gathering onto what they're giving us. So from a critic's perspective is, you know, saying that they're being biased, like they're only choosing to give us the information that they're wanting to show. So it's like they want us just to see it from their side. And then the one limitation that I had already kind of mentioned is the news perspective. So in the book quotes, in the book is Introduction to Media Literacy by James Potter. And so it quotes, while informing the public is an important purpose for news organizations, this purpose is secondary to the more primary purpose of attracting audiences and conditioning them for repeat exposures. So like I said before, they're more about getting the audience to keep coming back to their channel. That way that advertisers will buy slots so that they can, so that the news channel can make money off of the advertisers who are trying to sell their product. And they also say that news organizations are in the business of constructing audiences so they can rent those audiences to advertisers. The larger the audience, the higher the rent, and the more revenue the news organization generates. So therefore, the ultimate goal of news is commercial one, and journalists are driven to construct stories that will attract large audiences. Therefore, news organizations must be careful not to run hard-hitting stories that would offend audiences. So therefore, they must not offend their advertisers in the meantime. So, for example, we can use tobacco products. News channels or news stations or whatever, they don't want to offend any tobacco product, because tobacco products may not seem like a big deal, but they are the number one, or they're a huge advertisement. And so if any of these news anchors or journalists offend a tobacco product, therefore these advertisers don't want to use that news station channel, because they know that people aren't going to want to watch them because they have offended tobacco users. So they really need to watch and make sure that they don't offend people. So they're very careful with that aspect. So so in conclusion, the purpose of this discussion was to inform you that news anchors and journalists may cover news stories as much as they can, but is it really objective? Are they really being unbiased? Are they really trying to cover the full story, give you all the facts, and not just the facts from their side or their opinion on it? And for me, I don't think so. I think if you were trying to, or whenever you're telling a story, don't you usually kind of tell it from your side, your perspective, or as how you see it? And you may not mean to be biased on it, but sometimes it's just how it happens. And also, the news anchors or journalists can't cover the full story due to deadlines, limited resources, so they construct the information that they choose to gather, therefore not giving you all the facts, just the ones they decide to cover. So then they construct it as they see. So I feel as they're giving their biased opinion to the story and making it appear as though they're the only facts to the story, because they're trying to sell the story. So, sorry I talked really fast, and do y'all have any questions? That's all I have to